الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام رسول الله وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن سار سبيله إلى يوم الدين أما بعد. So we continue discussing the book Bayan Fard al-Ilm al-Salaf ala Ilm al-Khalaf by Hafiz Ibn Rajab al-Hanbali rahimahullah. And this book is to discuss matters regarding the virtue of ilm and that knowledge that is said to be beneficial knowledge, and also that which is not beneficial knowledge. So the author rahimahullah discussing also some of the aqwal of the Salaf regarding of those things that have entered into Islam that does not represent Islam. So he start mentions some of the aqwal of the Salaf regarding some of these matters. Aywa.
Bismillah wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulillah. Malik said, I have met the inhabitants of this city and they used to abhor this excessiveness in which we find the people today, meaning delving into minute details of issues and widening them. He used to censor excessive speech and legal verdicts, saying, they speak as if they were lascivious camels, saying, it is like this, it is like that, being reckless with their words. He used to abhor answering when faced with many questions, and would say, Allah says, وَيَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الرُّوحِ كُلِ الرُّوحِ مِنْ أَمْرِ رَبِّي. They ask you about the soul. Say the soul is my Lord's concern. And he would then not respond to the question. It was asked, a person who has knowledge of the Sunnah, should he argue in order to defend it? He replied, no. He should inform the other of the Sunnah. If he accepts, fine. Otherwise, he should remain silent.
As I mentioned concerning yesterday regarding that type of thing regarding al-jidal, it is something that person try to avoid. But if the person need to clarify a matter regarding the Sunnah or Islam, then the person do so, where the person not to do it in a way in a confrontational way. So the person explain the point of the Sunnah, give the clarity, and whether the person accepts or not, then that is left upon the person, but not to get into the practice of always going back and forth on matters. Aywa.
He would say, arguing and disputing about knowledge, he replied, no, he should inform the other of the Sunnah. If he accepts it, fine. Otherwise, he should remain silent. He would say, arguing and disputing about knowledge takes away the light of knowledge, and disputing about knowledge hardens the heart and breeds cursing. Frequently would he say in response to questions that he was asked, I don't know.
So it shows regarding the talib al-ilm that has to know regarding concerning these matters regarding jidal wal mira, that he tries to avoid them as best as possible, because after a while it leads to the heart, not the heart, and malice between the hearts, between the Muslims themselves. So the person try to avoid those type of discussion that would lead to matters of going back and forth and arguing on the matters regarding Islam. So with Islam is to clarify matters, not to argue about matter. Then also of those things that he mentioned, that of the thing with the talib al-ilm, and also concerning Ahlul Ilm, that I think the person that to know that there's things that he has to say, La adri, I don't know, meaning that the person will not know everything. So one will not know everything, but a person have to know when, as I said, when for him to kind of somewhat admit he does not know, and not try to give answers that would just create more confusion. But the person that admit, I don't know, if something is put to him that they do not know, to say these words, La adri. Aywa.
Imam Ahmed traversed the same path as that followed by Malik in this.
So you find that also the way of Imam Ahmed rahimahullah was also the same of that of the approach of Imam Malik rahimahullah. Aywa.
There also occurs a prohibition concerning asking excessive questions, asking tricky and difficult questions, and also about events that have yet to occur. Mentioning the narrations concerning this would only prolong the discussion beyond what is necessary. However,
so asking concerning of the question regarding for the talib al-ilm, that they will even mention the books of usul al-fiqh regarding concerning adab al-mufti wal-mustafti. So adab al-mufti, so regarding concerning the adab of the mufti regarding that certain characteristics and mannerism that is expected from the mufti regarding how he deals with the people and how he responds to question. And also there's adab, mannerism that relates to the person who's asking question. So there's ways of how you pose questions, the type of question that you put to the sheikh or to the alim. So also those questions that they mentioned. So to avoid these type of things that is mentioned. So of those things that of not of the adab, the talib, that he start to pose these type of intricate, unnecessary question. You're trying to pose a question to expose the person, to show that you know as equal as he does. So those type of questions are asked about things that haven't occurred. So the person, so those of the adab regarding of the mustafti, the person asking, that he avoid these type of approaches, this type of way of asking of questions. So having the correct adab in how to ask and pose question to the people of ilm. Aywa.
However, despite all this, there does occur in the words of the Imam, such as Malik, Shafi'i, Ahmed, and Ishaq, a clear indicator of the sources of jurisprudence and the intellectual basis of the divine laws, given in a succinct and comprehensive way, such that one can understand the meaning without undue difficulty. Their words also contain a refutation of those who oppose the Sunnah, phrased in the nicest of words and composed in the best of ways, such that the person who understands them is left in no need of comprehending the laborious discussions of the speculative theologians when they tried to do the same. Indeed, their lengthy, laborious discussions could be completely devoid of any of the correctness that is found in the concise statements of the Salaf and the Imams.
If a person can stick to the aqwal of the ulama, or to the nusus, or the aqwal of the ulama, then that makes things very clear. When the person tries to explain things from their own and kind of somewhat make things up, then sometimes it becomes more confusing and it becomes a lengthy discussion, because the person is void of knowing what is the hukum al-shari and also the aqwal of the ulama on that matter. So they start to find their own answers to question, especially when they're not properly qualified. Aywa.
The way and wisdom of the Salaf. Therefore, the Salaf, when they refrained from excessive argumentation and debating, did not do so because of ignorance and inability, rather because of knowledge and the fear of Allah. Those who came after them, who did speak much and went to great lengths in widening issues, did not do so because they had knowledge that the Salaf did not, rather because of the love of speech and the lack of scrupulousness, wara. When Al-Hasan heard a group of people arguing, he said, These have tired of worship. Speech has become easy and trivial to them. Their scrupulousness has lessened, and this is why they speak such. Mahdi ibn Maymun said, I heard Muhammad ibn Sirin say, whenever a person tried to argue sophistically with him, I know what he means. And if I wish to argue with you, I know full well the methods of disputation. And in another narration, I know more about disputation than you, but I will not dispute with you. Ibrahim al-Nakhai said, I have never argued. Abdul Karim al-Jazari said,
Al-Jazari.
Al-Jazari? Abdul Karim al-Jazari said, a person of scrupulousness will never dispute. Ja'far ibn Muhammad said,
you can see that like in the life of Imam past and present, even concerned like of Sheikh bin Baz, not known to get into this type of debate with people. Now, so either just clarify the matter, but as to going back and forth, then there's no need. There's no need for those type of, and not that all the ulama are ignorant of regarding this type of approach, but they see no benefit in this approach. They see no benefit in this approach. Aywa.
Ja'far ibn Muhammad said, beware of disputing about this religion, for it preoccupies the heart and breeds hypocrisy.
Comes that the matter regarding the deen is not per se to debate back and forth. It's about the person trying to know what is correct and how to act upon it.
Omar ibn Abdulaziz used to say, when you hear disputation, refrain. He also said, whoever makes his religion a tool for disputation will frequently change his stances.
And you see that with the people who are always debating. They're always changing their stance and their positions. Because of debates, so there's some time of an impact on a person where you feel that they see a lack of consistency. And what you see is the person always moving with the flow, moving the flow of things.
He also said the predecessors stopped at a point out of knowledge. Through penetrative insight did they refrain. Even though they were more capable of arguing than their opponents the predecessors stopped at a point out of knowledge. Through penetrative insight did they refrain. Even though they were more capable of arguing, were they to have argued. There are many quotes from the Salaf concerning this. Many of the latter people have been tried with this, thinking that one who increases his words and arguments and disputes about matters of the religion is more knowledgeable than one who does not.
It has come to the people, the Khalaf, the ones who come after, which be the Khalaf who somewhat have gone away from the way of the Salaf, that at times that how they look at things is different from how the Salaf looked at things. So they see that the person who can argue, speak much, write a lot, then that's the can argue more, then that's the person who, he has things going for him. Or the person who has some type of ilm, but the reality is different. The reality is different.
This is naught but pure ignorance. Just look at the senior companions such as Abu Bakr, Omar, Ali, Mu'ad ibn Mas'ud and Zayd ibn Thabit. What was their state? Their words were less than the words of Ibn Abbas, yet they had more knowledge than he. Similarly, the words of their successors were more than those of the companions, even though the latter had more knowledge than the former. The words of the next generation of successors were more than those of the first generation successors, even though the latter knew more than the former. Therefore, knowledge is not narrating a great deal, nor is it having an opinion on everything. Rather, it is a light which is implanted in the heart, by which a servant comes to understand the truth, employs it to differentiate between truth and falsehood.
In fact, so that's the issue, the fitna of today regarding a person, especially that he believes that he has to have a position on everything. So that's not the case, that a person have an answer to every question. So concern of ilm, especially concern a person talib al-ilm, for certain you would not have an answer to every question. Maybe the people are more senior and have more experience regarding their ilm and experience, that they more have an answer to most things, but even with them at times that you have an answer for everything. So the talib believe that in every question that is posed, then he has to have an answer, then that becomes a calamity. That becomes one's calamity. So of those things the person know his place, and out of his place that he will not know everything and have an answer to everything. Aywa.
And by which a servant comes to understand the truth, employs it to differentiate between truth and falsehood, and is able to express that truth in brief, concise words. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, was granted pithiness in speech, and his words were the most concise of words. All of this goes to show why there is a prohibition against excessive speech and being loose in one's words. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, Allah never sent a prophet except as a conveyor, and doctored, elaborated speech is from shaitan, from Satan.
إذا mentioned أثر كان فيه كلام, that أثر فيه كلام. مرسل ضعيف. The narration and Mujahid, so the narration is said to be ضعيف. أيوة.
Meaning by this that the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, only ever spoke to the extent required of him to convey the message. As for excessive, doctored and elaborated speech, it is blameworthy. The sermons of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, would be brief and to the point, and his speech was such that the number of words employed could easily be counted. He said, indeed, from speech is that which is magic. He said this by way of censure, not by way of commendation, as thought by some. Whoever considers the context of these words would be certain of this.
Yes, we mentioned in the statement, in the min al-bayan, sahar, by way of it is meant by way of something which is something blameworthy, not sent in the context of something which is praiseworthy. So so the author rahimahullah wished to clarify that the statement to be taken in light of it is something which is the Prophet ﷺ clarifying that in the fil bayan sahar, that kind of somewhat to put some there's some warning against the person who they like to speak a lot. Those like to speak a lot, and so that's concerning that matter. Aywa.
Tirmidhi and others quote the hadith of Abdullah ibn Umar that the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, Allah hates excessively eloquent among men. Allah hates excessively eloquent among men, those who move their tongues between their teeth, just as cows do. There are many narrations from the Prophet and the companions, such as Umar, Sa'd ibn Mas'ud, Aisha, and others carrying this meaning. Therefore, it is necessary to realize that not everyone who speaks a lot, delving into great detail with regards to normal speech and knowledge, is more knowledgeable than one who does not.
Yeah, so we don't measure people by the amount of the person who speaks the most. So I think it's not measured by the person who speaks the most. It's concerned the person's level of accuracy regarding things that they say. In a sense of accuracy that is in line with Sharia. This is in line with the Sharia by way of the Quran, the Sunnah, and the Aqwal of the Salaf. Aywa.
We have been tried by the ignorant amongst people who start believing that just because someone speaks a lot, he is more knowledgeable than those who have preceded him. Amongst them are some who believe that a particular person is more knowledgeable than the companions and those who came after them simply because he goes to minute details when explaining matters and has an opinion on everything.
And even today's time regarding concern of the things also regarding that a person is not said to be more knowledgeable because he's maybe more famous than another person. So you might have a person who's so you might find some of the ulama who are said to be, say, or Tullab al-Ilm, that one is maybe more renowned to the general public or to the world. We find another person, not that as well known, but it doesn't mean that this one is more knowledgeable than the other. So sometimes you might find the ones, anyone into today can find that he's well known. You can find someone who's equally as knowledgeable that an Imam or more knowledgeable than him, but not as famous. So even to the best, instead of all the names you can mention, you'll find that the person who is famous, you'll find someone equal to him that is not famous. So fame is not also a measuring stick that the person, because he's well known, is more knowledgeable. That's not the case. That's not the case. Comes to the other people in English, the du'at, that I find the ones who are maybe more popular and more famous, they're not the most knowledgeable. And also they're not upon the pure haqq. Of the ones who are famous on YouTube, online, on social media, they may be more famous on those platforms, but it doesn't mean that they're the most knowledgeable amongst the people. And in some of the cases, they're also the ones that there's things of observations about them, things of concerns regarding some of their statements, their way of how they function and deal with certain matters, that there's observations about them, things that needs to be clarified about them. So as I said, fame doesn't equate that you have more knowledge. Fame doesn't mean you have more knowledge. Aywa.
Some of this group say that he is just more knowledgeable than the famous legal jurists who enjoy a following. However, this statement of theirs implies the same as the previous. This is because those famous legal jurists spoke more than those who came before them. Hence, if someone who came after them knows more than them just because of his detailed discussions, then for sure he should be more knowledgeable than those who spoke less than them, such as Thawri, Awza'i, Layth, Ibn al-Mubarak, those of their generation, and those who came before them of the successors and companions. Such a stance constitutes clear disrespect of a serious nature towards the righteous Salaf, and indeed amounts to having an evil opinion of them and accusing them of ignorance and deficiency in knowledge. There is no strength or ability except with Allah. Ibn Mas'ud spoke the truth when he said, amongst mankind, they had the most righteous of hearts. They had
the Sahaba, you mentioned, we call it في الصحابة. They said mankind. Ibn Mas'ud.
Amongst mankind.
No. Ibn Mas'ud spoke the truth when he said, amongst mankind, they had the most righteous of hearts.
It means not mankind, but it means في الصحابة. So concerning amongst mankind, he's talking about the Sahaba.
Okay.
So in my book it have في الصحابة. So not per se mankind in general. Now, but specifically in my text it meant قوله في الصحابة. That is statement regarding the Sahaba.
Okay.
أيوة. So the form of praise of Sahaba, then he's going to mention the statement Ibn Mas'ud in praising of the Sahaba.
Ibn Mas'ud spoke the truth when he said, amongst mankind, meaning the Sahabas, they had the most righteous of hearts. They had the most profound and in-depth knowledge, and they were the least pretentious, thereby indicating that those who come after them are of a lesser stature with regards knowledge, but more pretentious. The likes of this has also been reported from Ibn Umar. Ibn Mas'ud also said, you are in a time in which the scholars are many, but whose speakers are few. After you will come a time in which the scholars are few, but the speakers are many.
It had mentioned that hadith or that athar sahih of the ulama who were concerned is athar Ibn Masud, that is it as even though it is his statement, but it is considered to be marfu hukmin. We're concerned that the thing that is mentioned here regarding that innakum fi zaman kathirun ulama, that the ulama in that time, during that time, the early days, that the ulama, that they were the majority, there were many of the ulama, sufficient amount of ulama, wa qalil al-khutaba, and the people that the speakers, the general speakers, that they were few. So the ulama, the ones who shine, they're the majority, and the people who are just speakers, they were the few people that I mentioned, وَسَيَأْتِي بَعْدُهُمْ, that or بَعْدُكُمْ, that will come after you, meaning later on, zaman, a time, qalil al-ulama, that the ulama will be a few. وَكَثِير الْخُطَبَةِ, and the people who are the speakers, then they'll be the majority. And that's what we have today. So you find that most of the people we know that they are speakers. They really do lessons, teaching people lessons by way of a book from start to end. They give general talks. And most of those general talks are very general talks. They talk about those things that capture any audience. Even some of those audiences that even if a non-Muslim are present, they'll feel, mashallah. They'll talk about good akhlaq. But as for the essence matters regarding at-tawheed, matters regarding the sunnah, those things are not pushed or presented to the people as it should, to the extent that it should, regarding warning against shirk and different forms of shirk being warned against, matters regarding the importance of tawheed, and the Muslim being unified based upon al-kitab wa sunnah. They don't speak about those things, but they talk about akhlaq in general. And you find concerning the people, those speakers, they kind of somewhat talk about general topics. That everyone will agree regarding, mashallah, regarding the topic. But as for the topic of a different substance regarding at-tawheed, they see that those things will divide the people. So don't speak about them. Don't talk about bid'ah and sunnah, because that will divide the people. So talk about akhlaq and the likes. So that's what you find amongst the khutbah. So just after that example, the ulama said that the person who give a khutbah, the general for the khutbah, would be a little different approach regarding a general lesson. So the khutbah, you're talking to the general Muslim. You have the person, maybe the alim present and the tullabul ilm, but majority of the people in the khutbah are the general Muslim. So you talk about things that kind of somewhat encourage them regarding their deen and caution them against things of bid'ah, things that they should warn against certain things. So it's a different, the khutbah will be a different, that audience, you can try to direct your khutbah to that audience. As for lessons and discussing certain things, then that also is a different preparation. So khutbah, a certain preparation and topics that are discussed, and also matters regarding lessons, then that's also a different approach regarding what is discussed and the depth of what is discussed. Aywa.
Hence, whoever's knowledge is great but speech is little is to be commended, and whoever is the opposite is to be censured. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, testified that the people of Yemen have faith and understanding. The people of Yemen are the least of people with regards to speech and delving into the minutiae of various sciences. However, their knowledge is beneficial knowledge that has taken root in their hearts, and they express of it only that which is required. This is beneficial understanding. The best of what exists is with regards to the sciences of exegesis of the Quran.
Tafsira.
No. Exegesis of the Quran, explanation of hadith, and discussion of the lawful and prohibited is that which is related from the companions, the successors, and the following generations until the generation of the famous Imams we have previously referred to. The proof that this portion is indeed the choicest of these sciences.
Yes, I mentioned regarding concern that you mentioned regarding the afdal tariq, regarding seeking of knowledge, the method of how to go about seeking of knowledge. So you mentioned regarding أفضل علوم في تفسير والقرآن والمعاني hadith والكلام في الحلال والحرام, which I said that the core issue, the core topics or the core subject of Islam, matter regarding how to understand the Quran, matters regarding emphasis regarding how to understand the hadith, that also what is deemed to be halal, what is deemed to be haram. These are the core issues of Islam. Now, so they mentioned that as to go about approaching these things, these sciences, then the way to go about doing, they mentioned ما كان مأثورا عن الصحابة. So meaning concerning that all of the Muslim will agree upon Quran or Sunnah. So everyone agree upon as Muslim, the main thing is the Quran, the Sunnah, but how we go about and what is halal and haram, but what's the method to understand the Quran, what's the method and approach that we use to draw the right conclusion regarding halal and haram, what's the proper method regarding how to understand the hadith correctly and in proper context. Then he mentioned the method, as he mentioned, going back to the Sahaba, then the Tabi'een, tabi'in, and it then ends and continue with the Imam of Islam. So that's the method. So we always go back to that, which is said in a nutshell. That's the way of the approach regarding that's the method followed by Dawat Salafiyah regarding how to understand and implement the text of Islam. Then we go back to the Sahaba, because we have the Quran and the Sunnah. We all agree upon this. But what the method of how to draw the proper conclusion, we look first to the Sahaba. We also look to the Tabi'in, Atba' Tabi'in, which is the first three generation, and also those Imam, showed at different times, who upon their path and their way. That's the method that we use regarding how we understand the Quran, the Hadith, and also Halal and Haram. We said no, those are so we said those would be of the method that is used in what is referred to as Dawat Salafiyah. Aywa, regarding istinbat, regarding how to come to conclusion in matters. Aywa.
The proof that this portion is indeed the traces of these sciences arising from the most profound depth of understanding and discernment is that which occurred after them of delving into minute details and widening issues, most of which contains no benefit unless it be an explanation of their words. As for that which contradicts their speech, most of it is false or contains no benefit whatsoever.
So I want to discuss this book before we discuss regarding the matter regarding Tafsir Quran, regarding the matter that you mentioned, that so we mentioned the system regarding concerning the system and the method regarding how to understand the Quran correctly, regarding the Hadith and Halal and Haram, that we go back to the Sahaba, we go back to the Tabi'in, Atba' Tabi'in, and the Imam that came after them. Then we said, no, but what are the sources that we have today that we can use to follow this method? So we might have the method or have the idea, but what are those sources? Do we have those sources available to follow this method? Clear the question? So are there books that we can use as reference if we want to know what's the aqwal of the Sahaba regarding the tafsir of the Quran? What's the aqwal of the Sahaba regarding speaking about this about this hadith, or regarding halal and haram? Where do we go? Where we look to get this information? Clear?
No.
But are these books that we can use as reference to approach, to have this approach? Yes, they are. So you have books that will give us the we have concerning that tafsir of the Quran. We have tafsir at-Tabari that give us the aqwal of the Salaf. We have a tafsir Ibn Abi Hatim that also not complete, but it is there, and others. That will give us this approach. Also regarding concerning that explanation of hadith, of the importance was regarding explaining hadith by way of the aqwal of the Salaf, that we have concerning books like At-Tamheed by Ibn Abdul Barr. So that's the explanation, and his book, Ibn Abdul Barr book, that they can somewhat take you back to the aqwal of the Salaf. And also regarding halal and haram. If you want to know what is halal and haram by way of the aqwal of the Salaf, then you have also books that we can source the aqwal of those books regarding halal and haram, regarding matters regarding their verdict on things. That you have Al-Musannif Ibn Abi Shayba or Musannif Abdul Razak as one of the sources. Also the book of Ibn Hazm Al-Muhalla, that will give you the aqwal of the Salaf on different matters. So there's books that are there that can give us or use as reference regarding knowing the aqwal of the Salaf. So for the person and also to be familiar with those books. Aywa.
Their words suffice us and more. There is no truth that one finds in the words of those who came after, except that it can be found in their words in the most succinct and comprehensive of ways. There is no falsehood to be found in the words of those who came after, except that you will find in their words, after understanding and due consideration, a clarification of its falsity. There is to be found in their words such profound meanings and subtle derivations that those who came after would never have even begun to broach, let alone been guided to. Whoever does not take knowledge from their words will miss out on all that good, as well as falling into much falsehood by way of following those who came after them.
The show regards that it did discussing regarding that a person going back to the ilm of the Salaf, and try to benefit as much as possible in having being familiar with the aqwal of the Salaf and their statements, and thus be mindful of what come of the statement of those who came after. So always trying to connect oneself to the aqwal of the Salaf, that's giving precedent over that of the aqwal of the Khalaf. Aywa. We find today that most of the books that are studied are books of the what? Of the Khalaf. You find that of the books, most of the books that are studied at times, well, sometimes said of those books that are beneficial, but of those ones you have to be on the guard. So of those books that are still beneficial, the Salaf, that are still beneficial, but of some of those books that you have to just be mindful of certain things. Aywa.
However, whoever wishes to collate their words is in need of knowing the authentic from the weak. This comes about by knowing the science of authenticating and disparaging narrators, jar wa ta'dil, and the defects of hadith. Whoever does not know this cannot be sure of what he quotes from them, and quickly will such a person confuse the truth of it with the falsehood.
So that concerns regarding of the matter regarding of the person being able to verify the information that have reached them, which is the person having that ilm of hadith. I mentioned regarding that being able to distinguish regarding that which is authentic from that which is not so. Much information might reach you, but a person still have to make that distinction. Is this information correct or not? Is it that information that is attributed to such person? Did he actually say this information, and what did he actually say? So the person have a system in place. So that's the ilm al-hadith. So ilm al-hadith assists the person and give the person that guidelines regarding how the person is able to make that distinction regarding how to verify if something is authentic or not authentic. But it requires also the person knowing the things that are involved in that science. So it's not about just jar wa ta'dil, it's a combination of several things. So not just about jar wa ta'dil, it's a combination of other things regarding ilm al-hadith. Aywa.
Such a person is not to be depended upon when he reports from the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, or the Salaf, because of his ignorance of the authentic from the weak. It is even possible that such a person, as a consequence of this ignorance and subsequent confusion, go to the extreme of believing that all of it is false. Awza'i said, knowledge is that which the companions of Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, conveyed. Anything else is not to be considered knowledge. This was also stated by Imam Ahmed, and he said concerning the successors, you are free to choose, meaning it is up to you if you wish to record their words or leave them. Zuhri used to write their narrations, and Salih ibn Kaysan disagreed with him on this, only to later regret that he himself never wrote them.
Aywa.
In our times, it is imperative that the words of the Imams of the Salaf who are followed up who are followed up to the time of Shafi'i, Ahmed, Ishaq, and Abu Ubaid be written down. Let the people beware of those affairs that happened after them, for many new matters occurred, amongst which was the appearance of those who attributed themselves to following the Sunnah and Hadith, such as the Zahiriyya, Al-Zahiriyya, and their likes.
So you have Zahiriyya that attributed to what so you have Ibn Hazm rahimahullah, that of the one that, so the founder of, let's say the founder of the madhab is Dawood ibn Ali. So you have Dawood ibn Ali is the founder of the madhab, but he didn't per se have works that was written much. Then you find that Ibn Hazm, who came after, then he kind of somewhat start to collect concerning matter that relates to the opinion of those, as he attribute himself to the madhab al-Zahiriyya. So start kind of somewhat to gather their opinions and their ruling on things. So he was the one who kind of somewhat wrote books clarifying the position of the Zahiriyya. So the books of Zahiriyya, so the founder is Dawood ibn Ali, but the one who kind of somewhat wrote and clarify their position is Ibn Hazm, and the works of Ibn Hazm, they are present today. So I find that some, as I mentioned, that the Zahiri madhab, that they have certain ulama kind of somewhat were that when they are right, but when they are wrong, they can be, you understand, far out. And sometimes the Zahiriya, they have become known that they refer to Zahiriya, when you look at the text of the Zahir meaning. So as it is, we take it for what it is. We take things for what it is. They become also famous that they also completely reject al-Qiyas. So in fiqh, they do not accept Qiyas, but in Aqidah, they do Qiyas. But the general thing regarding of their fiqh, that the Zahiriya, that they don't per se, they oppose concerning, so they're very harsh against Qiyas or reject Qiyas. They accept some aspect of ijma up to a certain time, and also that they are very harsh regarding at-taqleed. They're also very harsh against at-taqleed. And the madhab is still, the madhab still present. You might find a few who may attribute themselves to Zahiriya. So of contempt of recent, in our time, of the two that more famous individual who attribute themselves to Zahiriya, we have you have two individuals that attribute themselves to Zahiriya, that Ibn Aqil. So you have Ibn Aqil, he was from Ibn Aqil of, I don't know, maybe 30 years ago. So Ibn Aqil, of those who attribute themselves to the madhab of Zahiriya. And also we have another, which is another, I forgot his name, that also said to be Zahiri. So you had those two individuals, I forgot about Ibn Aqil. They have another second person that also, they were more two famous of the Zahiriya of our time. Anyway, Abu Turab. So the other one, Abu Turab, that also that attribute himself to the madhab of the Zahiriya of contemporary times. Ibn Aqil. You're looking for Ibn Aqil? No. So those are two, Ibn Aqil, and he has some works, and also we have Abu Turab. They are the two who are the most renowned of those who claim Zahiriya.
The Zahiriya often oppose the Sunnah due to their founder's deviation from the stances held by the Imams and following his own understanding, or he's taken to those texts that the Imams before him did not take to. As for delving into the words of the speculative theologians and the philosophers, this is pure evil. Rare is it to find one who delves into them without being sullied by some of their filth. Ahmed said, none delves into speculative theology, kalam, except that he takes on board the ways of Jahm. He, as well as the other Imams of the Salaf, used to warn against the people of speculative theology, Ahl al-Kalam, even if their intention be to defend the Sunnah.
So that's sort of the position regarding Ilm al-Kalam. So that shows regarding the position of the Salaf regarding Ilm al-Kalam, that's something that they were against. Even the person trying to use it to defend the Sunnah, they were still against the person using that method. So it shows regarding, so anyone who come in latter times can somewhat try to use concerning Ilm al-Kalam to justify things or to defend the Sunnah. We said that this matter been discussed by the ulama before us. So that is something which is a new matter. So to say, well, what is the position taken by the ulama of the Salaf on this matter regarding using of these sciences, Ilm al-Kalam, philosophy and these things regarding to defend the Sunnah according to you? Did the ulama discuss them before? Or proceed us in discussing this matter? If they did, then what was their position? What's their position? So if their position is no, then Khalaf. The matter has been discussed and the result is known, the answer is known, then we should follow their way. But you find that, so that's the thing. So I said, in a person who claimed to be upon the way of the Salaf, then it means that you have to go with the aqwal of the Salaf, especially those things they were very clear on. Those matters they are very clear on, which is this matter regarding Ilm al-Kalam. Aywa.
As for what is to be found in the words of those who love this rhetoric and follow its adherents in censoring those who do not excel in disputation and debate, accusing them of their ignorance and haush. This word.
Hashwi. Actually, I mentioned Ashwi, that's something you find that the people of Al-Batil, in most part, always kind of somewhat give the other side. So you find that they try to give names to others in a form, in a derogative way. So I mentioned on the hashwi that at times they actually regarding matter regarding Allah's sifat, that the people like I said that you don't exercise your intellect. Now you can somewhat simple-minded. Now so you can somewhat use these type of terms in a way to kind of somewhat to belittle others. So you find it's a practice of old. You understand that the people of Sunnah who kind of somewhat have certain principles that they uphold, that the other opposing side always have a name that they call them. So of the whole Hashawi, before that they refer to the people of Sunnah, and today you find Wahhabi and these type of terminology that are used. So you find people are quick to give names to others. Just be mindful. Just be mindful of this quick name calling thing. It's something to be careful of. Aywa.
Accusing them of ignorance and hashwi, or that they do not have gnosis of Allah, or that they do not possess true understanding of this religion. All of this is from following the footsteps of shaitan.
Inshallah, so we stop there, inshallah. We'll stop there and continue next week. Hopefully we can finish this risala. One more sentence in your book?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, tafaddal.
No. We take refuge with Allah from such a person.
Okay, that's it?
That's it.
Okay.
That's it, Sheikh.
Okay. Hey, Jazakallah khair. So inshallah said that, so we'll end there for today, and hopefully said, the intent is to, so that the book said, kind of somewhat, it explains itself. The book in most part, it explains itself. So said that these are those books that ever so often you read as a fatira, kind of somewhat to remind you of how to focus and how to approach ilm. Now, so these are reminders regarding how to approach things and to make sure that we're having the correct approach, which is knowing the way that was left by the Salaf. So Ibn Rajab rahimahullah is trying now to connect us back to the way of how the Salaf approach ilm. What were those things they give emphasis regarding ilm? What are those things that they avoided? Now, they were kind of somewhat use this as a guide regarding things that also we give emphasis based upon the Salaf, give those things emphasis, and also the ulama who came after them, what they gave emphasis, and those things that they kind of somewhat dismiss or spoke against, then we avoid those things. Now, so I said that these books are just reminders regarding that we keep focus on how to seek ilm correctly. Wabillahi ta'ala tawfiq.